I got a market measure for you guys. You want to get into it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, cool. So this is a piece from Sahil over on X, if you want to give him a follow, about the hidden risks of high pop strangles. We're going to be talking about the usual things about like the tail risk component relative to the credit you collect. That's a lot of what we tend to talk about when it comes to the risk reward trade off, but also some of the other risks that you don't always talk about. So we're going to get into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. I have a feeling where this is going.
I think you might. I think you might have a sneaking suspicion. But there's always a trade off with different option strategies, right? And usually want this balance of risk and reward, really, capturing enough upside for the amount of risk and the type of risk that you're taking. And we usually often judge a position by its delta. Lower delta strategies tend to be higher pops. And while this looks attractive at first, it does come with some hidden risks that we wanted to talk about. So what are those downsides of high pop trades? Because, on their face, they look great, probability of profit of like 90%. That can look nice at first, but what are the hidden downsides that you don't always see right away? Make sense?
Makes sense.
Indeed.
Let's do it. Okay, so here we're just comparing some strangles going back from 2013 to present. These are 45 DTE managed at 21 DTE, so using a little bit of early management in there. And what you can see is that when you're getting down to like the 10 delta, 5 delta, 2 delta strangles, you're getting pops upwards of 80%. But the credit you're collecting and then the consequential median P&L drops off pretty significantly, as you would expect. That's really the trade-off when you're going wider and wider. You're getting those high probabilities of profit, but you're collecting less, and that affects median P&L overall. And even though those can be like small, steady gains, especially when you're profiting, overwhelming majority of the time, those are not necessarily enough to compensate from the inherent tail risk that you see with just all types of short premium positions. And then, these undefined risk ones as well.
Okay. With you.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to the next one. So this is just, I pulled this, like this morning. I'm just looking at 21 DTE buying power for SPY strangles, comparing 50 delta, 40 delta, 30, 20, and 10. And what you see is between 50 and 10, there's a 12% reduction in buying power. So it's not a very big reduction in buying power from going wider and wider and wider and wider. Noting that these are 21 DTE, this is on SPY, and different volatility conditions are going to change what these values actually are. But buying power is really meant to be for an undefined risk position, what the kind of estimate for worst case losses, depending on a couple of factors. There's this calculation that goes into it. This is basically, the broker's estimate for worst case loss for an undefined risk position when you don't really know what the risk is, technically, or the potential losses going into it. So what you see is that even though these, 50, these 10 delta positions or these 20 delta positions have high probabilities of profit, one, they're capital intensive. They're, comparably capital intensive, looking at 21 DTE as a 40 or a 30 delta position. But if we're using BPRs as proxy for worst case loss, you're also subject to tail risk, as unlikely as that might be, even though you're profiting most of the time, right?
Yeah. And just so the crowd knows, this is for margin accounts, right?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's the big hidden risk is you have this high probability trade. Maybe you're levering up and doing multiple contracts, but you're out of the money losses, especially the further out you go, you can realize a 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x loss and still be far out of the money. So you got to take that into account.
Yeah, that can totally happen. And yeah, that's really that's a big part of the argument. But the hidden other piece of this as well, that's specific to undefined risk positions, we'll talk about on the next slide, is that buying power is, when you put on the trade, it's not necessarily going to stay at those levels throughout the duration of the trade, right? BPR adjusts throughout time. And you can actually, right, sometimes even though you're putting, a trade on for some amount of buying power reduction, that can actually increase over time throughout the trade. So looking at this NVIDIA, for example, we saw that the buying power actually increased by 65%. Just within a couple of days of holding the trade, which again, like brokers trying to adjust for the perceived maximum loss of the position. So not only is it the capital that you need to start the trade initially, but also the capital to sustain the trade. That's kind of this other piece that we don't always talk about.
Yeah, and I think this is why understanding notional value really helps out, because your notional risk is where, especially if you crank up that notional risk. Like if you have a $100,000 account and you're trading, a couple strangles in NVIDIA or whatever it is, if you're like 5-6x notional, that you're running into problems with this type of stuff. But if you're at like 1.5, 2 times notional exposure, you have a lot less risk in terms of buying power expansion, stopping you out of a losing trade that might become a winner a week later.
Yeah. Yeah. Good call out.
Yeah, and it's fascinating too, just watching obviously the stock slid down, saw buying power increase, but then it comes back up, and then you see that kind of release in buying power, so the way that it moves around.
Yeah. And just about, yeah, this is having that buffer capital, right? Like sometimes it'll go back up. And with like this NVIDIA position we were looking at, it went up and then went right back down in terms of the buying power requirements, just looking at this one example. But it's, yeah, having a little bit of buffer capital with an undefined risk position, just in case you do get those, fluctuations, the, volatility. And then when we go to the next slide, what we actually see is that the kind of like hidden risk of those high pop positions going out super wide is that those buying power, fluctuations, I guess you should say, or that variability is actually a bit more volatile. So when we're looking at the cases when we were monitoring 5 delta, 16 and 50 delta, when we looked at the maximum recorded increase in buying power, it was actually highest with those 5 delta positions, which, just kind of that makes sense. You're collecting less credit in general. Your Greeks kind of get weird when you get very far out of the money. So that's just kind of something other point to keep in mind, which is that not only is there this tail risk exposure that's kind of inherent to strangles, even when you're going very far out of the money, is that your buying power can be more sensitive, and potentially increase, relative to the amount that you're collecting more than those, tighter positions or closer to at the money.
100%. And this says it all right here. If you're selling these far out of the money options, it can be a high probability trade, but you got to make sure that if you do get that 10%, 20% sell off, you can withstand that, because otherwise you're going to be stopped out at an out of the money loss, which is no good.
It's no good. That's no good. So it's, time and a place for everything, including those very far out of the money positions, but just being mindful of the risks that aren't immediately obvious because, small credit, high pop, there's those risks in there. It's just about being mindful of that, about that. Blah, blah, blah. About them and when to use them. Oh boy, is it Friday?
It is. It is actually Friday, which is great.
Oh boy, am I excited it's Friday. We can get into some takeaways though. But lower delta trades, wider trades might look attractive at first, high probability of profit. But they do end up having lower credit, even though you do have that tail risk exposure. As unlikely as it might be, that's still there when you're trading a strangle, even though you're profiting, the majority of the time with these types of positions. So it's really just about collecting enough to kind of compensate for that tail risk, but then also having enough capital to sustain the trade throughout the time that you're going to be holding it. And just noting that like those very far out of the money positions can actually have larger buying power increases, especially throughout the day. But just being mindful about having that buffer capital as well, and then making those adjustments if you're going very far out of the money. Just being mindful of that, because some of those risks, some of those nuances aren't immediately obvious just from the face value statistics.
100%.
Yeah,
love
true.
it.
Cool. I think that's all I got.
Beautiful. Well, yeah, that is a super important segment, and that applies to really any trade you're doing. And you could see, like, even if you had a 5 delta or 16 delta or 30, 40, 50 delta, like you still have to account for the buying power expansion that can happen and will happen if you get a big move against you, especially to the downside with volatility expanding.
Right. And then one way to kind of get around that is just by throwing a wing or two. You know what the max losses on the trade, even if it's very far out wing and you're basically trading like a synthetic strangle or synthetic, naked position effectively. That's one way to just kind of know in an undefined risk world what the worst case scenario is.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.